just feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's fun.
Open wide for some soccer!
I don't care what you think about what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the Cowboys.
Call this college rules!
Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. I'm Chris. This is Dom. Welcome to episode 200. We made it. We did it. Please like, subscribe, comments, all of that stuff. A huge thank you to Angle Studio and one of my best friends, Ty, for fucking helping us out all the time. I shouldn't be cussing in the first 10 minutes, but the reason why I am is because we're drinking, and the reason why we're drinking
Why are we drinking, Chris?
Who are we talking about today?
We are back on the golf course probably for the first time since VJ Singh way back in the day. We're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, John Daly.
That's right. Some say the greatest golfer ever, and we will stand by that on this podcast.
The greatest golfer guy ever.
I was going to say, we're not talking records. We're not
talking whore fucking like Tiger Woods. We're talking the man, the Kenny Powers, the Happy Gilmore of golf. Everything inspired by that John Daly.
I mean, he's a cultural legend. This is like skateboarding where he plays golf with style. That's the only thing I have to say, is if we were rating it on style points, he would have it to a T. Where was he born? Give it to me.
He's Buzz fucking Lightyear. He is falling with style. He is golfing with style.
He's Diet Coking with style.
He is Diet. Oh, we'll talk about his Diet Coke.
I'll tell you who he is. And it's such a weird one where he's when you think of people in different worlds, he's Ron White.
Oh, he is so Ron White
of the golfing world, which is so weird.
This is the tater salad of the PGA Tour.
And I wonder if they've ever mixed. Please, if you don't know who Ron White is, Google him, check him out, see some of his redneck comedy. It is crazy. We're a couple of comics. We love sports. We're talking about sports. That was one thing I forgot to say. A little banged up already.
Go follow the Sports Experience Podcast on all of the socials, as well as all of the little labels below us in each episode. Kudos to our producer, Ty.
Do it all.
We're 200 in. Let's get into John Daly.
Give it to me.
Give it to you. John Patrick Daly, born April 25th. In 1966 in Carmichael, California.
Which is funny, and we were talking about pre-podcast when we were getting hammered, that it was just funny that he came from California. You know, he's a sunshine man.
Not all bad people are born in California, says this man right here. Anyway, his dad, Jim, was a construction worker in industrial plants. His mom, Lou, was a homemaker. But they moved a lot because of his dad's job.
Yep.
His alcoholic, abusive dad's job.
Worked long hours. He would drive long distances to get to job sites and all that kind of thing. And they moved almost every year until he was like a junior in high school, which we see, like, it kind of affects him because, like, you see him being really good at golf, but literally moving, like, every year, 2 years.
Can I just say this? Like, as someone who moved twice before they graduated high school, it sucks to move twice. John Daly moved a lot more than twice.
I've never moved in my entire life. I still live at my parents' house. I'm just kidding. But I never moved I moved when I was 4, and then I never moved again.
Yeah.
Which I know what you mean, where it's almost restarting, and you're like, hey, I'm new.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing. And I bet him excelling at golf wasn't necessarily the cool thing that, we think it is today.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, he would go somewhere new. He was killing it at golf at 13.
But he started at age 4. Like,
okay,
and he was, and his parents were getting him into these country clubs where he was playing golf and just dominating not only people his age, but people way older than him and adult men.
That's right.
Which is
grown
bad
sex
ass.
offenders. Wait, what?
What?
His idol growing up, Jack Nicklaus, like a lot of us. And I forget where he lived, but he was living where he was playing, and that's where he first started to play in those country clubs.
Oh, Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah. So he idolized Jack Nicklaus. He moved to Virginia, which in Locust Grove,
Yep.
everybody, at age 13. He won the championship there at their golf course, beating adult men. And then the next year, they wouldn't allow any children or non-members to play. That's how good John Daly was at golf as a child.
They changed the rules because they were like, no, we know he's going to show up next year and beat all of these grown men and make them feel bad.
What do you think of John Daly silhouette? You know the Jordan silhouette where he's dunking the ball? What would a John Daly silhouette look like, Chris? Just
obviously
smoking a
nice
cigarette?
Well, no, a nice backswing. So you see his nice
obviously
backswing.
the backswing.
Cigarette in mouth, beer, Diet Coke can, excuse me, on the campus. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Penis
next to
in
him.
a lady or no?
I hope so.
I hope so.
You know,
we hope so with John Daly.
we want him. We want the best for him. That's what we're trying to say. So he was a golf prodigy. That's what I feel like.
He had all the natural skills to be a golfer, as well as the natural strength to make people go, how far did that ball go?
But looking at him, and when I saw him, I never would have thought he was a golf prodigy coming up. But man, he really was, and he had one of those. And we're going to be making these references. One of those Happy Gilmore long drives that were not common in that day because, like, the emphasis was on short game. It was on this other shit, and he was just like, "No, I'm gonna smack the shit out of the ball, and then we're just
where it goes.
We're just gonna see where it goes." I don't
Like
know
some guy told him it was all on the hips, and he said, "Hey, how about I murder an alligator?"
Dom, did I tell you my ex fell off of a cliff? Yeah.
Oh
Dom,
yeah,
she's dead.
So, like, literally, when they changed the rules for this, if you go back to our episode on Ken Norton Sr., they literally did that for him in high school for track athletes. Like, John Daly is a golf prodigy. When he was 14 and 15, he lived in Zachary, Louisiana, because of his dad's job. And then in 10th grade, he moved to Jefferson City, Missouri, where he went to Helios High School.
And
Not only was a golfer, though, he is the original Sebastian Janikowski, kicked, punted on their state championship football team, legend John Daly.
I'm just saying, like, for kids in high school who you're like, dude, that dude fucked. John Daly fucked. Kicker, golfer, mullet, blonde, heavy alcoholic already. I don't know where
Nobody
else you want
wants
me to go.
to fuck the kicker outside of Janikowski and John Daly. Maybe Adam Vinatieri because he was so clutch. But John Daly, looking like Princess Bride, only 50 pounds heavier, doing it like a champ. Oh, baby, that's so great. As you wish, baby, with a fucking Marlboro Light out of his mouth.
Well, let me say this. His high school team went 10-0, and they wouldn't have done that with a kicker that was so ready to walk through the fire swamps, because that's what you just don't understand about this man, that he was do anything for love. You know what I mean?
He was the meatloaf of high school football kickers. Oh, God damn it.
Bat out of hell. So let's get into right out of high school.
Right out of high school.
He goes to college, excels at golf, but it really butts horns with his golfing coaches.
Yeah.
Both of them.
He's at University of Arkansas. He's always said that was his dream. You know, that was where he finished high school. That was where he wanted to go to college. That was the golf team he wanted to be on. But it was they had some issues with Johnny's weight.
I was going to say, he came in fat. He was always just a kind of a fatter dude. And they gave him some advice that I feel like we've all taken. And
I have.
It was so good. Give it to me.
You're entirely too obese. How about to lose weight? You don't go into the gym. You don't lift weights. You don't do cardio. you start smoking cigarettes.
Well, hold on. I want to say this
This
because
is the other thing we talked about before, yeah.
golf is the only sport where they legitimately
bowling,
told you
too.
they legitimately told you not to lift weights or to because they would fuck with your
range of motion.
That.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because that was the big thing. So like they were like, yo, we want you to lose weight. Obviously, don't go into the gym. That's crazy. We know you drink a bunch of beer.
Just get toned like those 70-year-old ladies doing Sit to Be Fit. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, fucking give me some.
I got him on Tinder, Chris.
I was about to say Craig Fitzsimmons, but who was the exercise guy that we fucking?
Jack LaLanne.
Yes. So what they told him though was to instead of drinking beer, drink Jack Daniels, which is not completely inaccurate.
Honestly, that's a great life choice.
Yes, thank you. And if you're gonna eat popcorn,
which is also a great life choice because you're watching movies.
Also, start smoking cigarettes. So it's not like he was smoking cigarettes. Start smoking cigarettes to curb those appetite cravings when they come on. So what they were saying was popcorn, Jack Daniels, cigarettes, and you know what? You're going to be the greatest golfer of all time. And he was just like, okay. And then he said this about not necessarily the Jack because he went back to beer or whatever, but he said this about the cigarettes because he smoked cigarettes for like almost the rest of his life. He was just like, that was one of the biggest mistakes. I mean, I didn't start smoking cigars. Hey, I was just like, it is one of those things where you get super addicted and you're just like, oh, God damn it.
As someone who has quit cigarettes and as someone who has quit chaw, who has quit dip, who has quit those Nancy Pants nicotine pouches, those are hard. Those are really hard to quit. The fact that I feel bad for John Daly right here to lose weight. But you know what? You do what you need to do. And Johnny boy, keep doing what you need to do.
I was going to say, I'm going to start doing hard drugs so I can quit it. And then you guys will be like, man, he is really getting his shit together.
You're going to lose all that weight to heroin.
You're going to lose all that weight. You guys won't even know what's coming. All right. So Arkansas really doesn't work out.
No.
He does have a ton of potential, but there's all this problems with his coaches. And he ends up leaving early, doesn't get his degree.
Yeah, and 1986, he competes at the U.S. Open as an amateur, but ends up missing the cut.
Yep.
But he just walks out of Arkansas saying, no degree. I was put on this earth to do one thing, much like Candy Powers throwing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He just said, hey, I got a Burmese fucking python cock and a fucking driver to take that golf ball all the way down the fairway.
I'll tell you what we've needed for this podcast. Give it to me. There's a lot of blood, sex, magic. I couldn't even finish it. Jesus Christ. 200, everybody. Come
200, motherfuckers. We've done it.
So he ends up going out and trying to become a professional. He goes to South Africa, which I imagine would have been quite the party at that time.
You saw Leonardo DiCaprio there? For Blood Diamond,
for
Danny
Blood Diamond.
Atcha.
There you go.
But he's actually doing well on those South African tours.
As a like, amateur coming up, this is like the path you take.
We had talked about that, and honestly, I made a note of it in our VJ Singh podcast.
Yep.
That's where he started kind of making his bones on those South African tour
that pop up and
yeah,
in this era of like the 80s, late 80s for him, but it's very much like these tours that
they call it the Sunshine Tour, and when I think apartheid, I don't think sunshine. That's all I'm saying. I think diplomatic immunity and Mel Gibson yelling things into the wind with a mullet.
But it definitely gets them prepared for these to be more professional. You see him in 90 get on the Ben Hogan tour, which is named something else now. I'm not going to look up what it is. But this is the thing is there's all these little sub tours that they still have now that almost prepare you to get your PGA Tour card or even European card, which I feel like some people thought he was going to go because he did have not
he was so inconsistent, and I feel like the reason he was inconsistent is it's all about John Daly. Like, he's not some quiet, meek motherfucker who bangs tons of whores on the side like Tiger Woods. It's just, I'm John Daly, and I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, and y'all can see me do whatever the hell that I want.
Sometimes it's about the after party. He said he would show up because obviously you get whatever tea time, and he'd be like, dude, I would show up hammered or completely hungover, especially on a Sunday after a Saturday night, because we would just go out fucking Saturday night, and you would just be like, oh, yeah, that makes sense to me. Drunk right now.
I did want to bring up, though, in 1990, he did win 2 Sunshine Tour events. So, like, you're seeing the potential. It's just like, will he ever put it all together? Because this man, and I want to get into this right now, like, for those of you who are listening, as far as his drives, I don't know if we'll ever see that again. Like, as far as the power and I'm not talking about like, oh, Mac, the bottom is just generating all of the power. Like, this dude would hit golf balls farther than everybody, which is why we're bringing up Happy Gilmore.
Well, you know what's crazy? It's not all about the power. It's about the speed.
It's about the speed. It's about the speed. And then the muscle mass. Like, I don't want to talk about that in Predator.
I don't want to talk about muscle mass all the time. I didn't get Predator 2.
The transport.
But this is the thing that you're 100% right with, and I'm not going to look it up right now, but I think he's the only golfer ever to get on a green at this par 5 that was 630 feet. Because that's what they were saying was not only was
2 shots. He got on the only one in 2 shots in 600 yards.
Not only was his off the tee was ridiculous, but off the turf for a 3-wood, which is normally what you would hit, or whatever, like that was almost comparable. That's what people were saying was just like, no. He was so much more talented than people give him credit for.
Do you know who he reminds me of in our podcast? And I won't say like, and this is not to like disparage this other person, but he's like Brett Hull. Like Fulton Reed.
Yeah.
He's like Fulton Reed. Granted, Brett Hull just didn't want to play defense. Granted, he worked hard at everything else as far as putting the puck in net, but
there was that
Brett
side.
Hull, yeah,
there was that side of his game, and you were just like, you have all the potential, and you're only doing. But that's the thing is like I feel like he was on this precipice of being like the guys with the really long drive, and then when his short game is on, he was almost like definitely top tier. That's
because it's like a man in a Bruin sweater going out there after somebody sends him a note that says, I wish Principal Anderson went out in traffic and killed himself.
Oh, you don't want breakfast?
Oh, God damn it. Oh, yeah, she fell off a cliff. She's dead.
I tell you about my girlfriend. She fell off a cliff. She's dead.
So in 1990, he does win the Ben Hogan Utah Classic, and then he finishes tied for 12th at the PGA Tour qualifying tournament, which allows him into the 1991 PGA Championship.
And
my God,
it is quite the story because we have Nick Price. So he is
love you, Johnny. I love you.
He's the 9th alternate. And
we're not talking about an understudy. We are talking about an 8th understudy.
And it happens so much to where, like, if it didn't happen, there's so many things that happen.
Can I just say one thing?
Say 8 things.
Nick Price, your sperm, attaboy. Attaboy.
Well, let me say this. The first guy drops out. And whatever, he starts moving up the line. He moves up to like 5th. So because like some people are like, oh, I'm not going to be there, whatever. He moves up to like 5th, and he decides he's just like, well, I'm going to drive to the Open to see, because like
which is insane because he's probably doing it at a BAC of at least 0.13.
Oh, I'm sure he's drinking
because
and driving
John
the whole
Daly,
time because he's a fucking champion,
the goddamn man.
So, but that's his thing was like he got bumped down to like 5th. They called him. This is pre-cell phones, so he's like, I'm gonna drive just in case. He's driving overnight, and then Nick says he like contacts him. He's the day before. He's like, hey, I'm going to drop out because I want somebody to have a practice round. Obviously, these people are here.
Exactly.
And they go through all of these people. And the thing that helps John and the reason why he gets it is a couple of golfers said because it's at, where is it at? Crooked Stick
Golf
which
Club in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Which is notoriously a long golf course. And there were literally two guys who were like, I don't want to play on that long-ass golf course. I'm going to back off. Which
because
John was like, I have a long-ass drive, and I'm going to go on that golf course.
John Daly, you are the long Rod Van Hugendong of golfers.
I think I'm just going to make it every time. And the first time, I don't know why I'm going to go up and putt. You're just like,
yeah,
God damn it.
Oh, man, it was that easy? I just made it in 2 shots.
So he's literally driving up. He doesn't know he's on it. They know he's on it, and they're like, they call his hotel, and they're like, "Will you give him this message that he's literally going to be in the Open tomorrow morning?"
Bro, that's like
when he
being
arrives Wednesday night. Yep,
that's like being a comic. Oh no, we need you to be here now.
Yes,
I mean, I've definitely experienced that 1 hour before a show. Hey, we're gonna need you to host the entire weekend now.
So he shows up 91. He has no practice rounds. He ends up
Which
getting.
is why I love this man so much.
He ends up getting Nick Price's.
He's a dog.
Yep. He ends up getting Nick Price's caddy, who was homeless at the time.
He was a homeless man at the time.
He was a homeless man.
Washing his underwear in the ball washer.
It's just like, well, it's slightly slanted to the left, and you're just like, nah, that's just because you have one shoe on.
He took a cracker instead of a quarter.
Oh, yeah. And then he proceeds to blow everybody's mind, but this is what everybody was saying was the golf course was tailor-made for him. Extremely long drives are super beneficial, and this is the thing about golf was it was a story that, I mean, you almost couldn't write.
This is like a fairy tale for golf.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like,
and
not
for
only
drunks.
a fairy tale for golf, but I mean, a fairy tale for just life in general.
That's right.
This dude who had moved all around his entire childhood, not necessarily fitting in, but having this one awesome fucking skill, which is like in the most hoity-toity fucking profession ever.
Well,
and
like
him just sticking it to everybody going, I look like Fat Princess Bride. Take it, bitches.
I'll say this about his childhood because it was a mullet childhood where it was love in the front, abuse in the back.
Oh, good Lord,
And
Chris. That was the best line ever for John Daly. Oh, my God.
I'm talking about with this 91 Open where U.S. Open because he wins a different Open. Whatever. I don't want to get too into golf nitty-gritty.
No. Let me just say this.
Give me the 67, 68, 70, 68, goddammit.
Yeah, he went a minus fucking 12 on the U.S. Open at this goddamn course because it was built for his burly-ass fucking drives. John Daly, the man.
And let me say this. Because after he won, he said, what would you do with $1 million? And he said...
2 chicks at the same time.
And they would be like, well, I mean, all women are into money. And what he said was...
well, a couple women who would double up on a guy like me would.
And that's the kind of John Daly I'm talking about, motherfuckers.
Oh, my God. He is Dietrich Botter in fucking... I'm sorry.
But this is the, like we were saying, the fairy tale in golf where you're just like, man, that was like we've never seen. He came in, he had the long drive, he's the happy Gilmore. He's getting people who aren't necessarily into golf because he looks different than all these other golfers. He's
like, we did a Payne Stewart episode earlier. Y'all can go and listen to that. And granted, Payne Stewart looked like the accountant that Happy Gilmore would kick in the ass. And granted, Payne Stewart, Hall of Fame, amazing golfer.
Also a different,
looked like kind of a douchebag,
but a different guy. But not the he wasn't different cool. He was different nerd.
Yeah,
and John Daly was pulling up in a Trans Am and he was blasting some White Snake. And he was fucking your stepmom.
Well,
so
of course. I mean, who hasn't fucked a stepmom?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, but John Daly, living the dream. I feel like that should be the title of his autobiography.
Living the dream?
Living the goddamn dream, John Daly.
Diet Cokes and smokes, living the dream.
Diet Cokes and smoke. Oh, my God.
I feel like we're just coming up with shirts today.
Oh, sweet Jesus. We're going to get the Cheryl Miller shirts here.
Yeah, look for those shirts when we
Yeah.
finally get our shit together.
So in 1992, after his amazing PGA Championship, several top 10 finishes. He wins the BC Open by 6 strokes. But
He also gets third in the Masters.
Yeah, third in the Masters in 1993. But we're experiencing a very John Daly drought.
This is
from 93 to about 95.
I was going to say, this is when he starts drinking heavy because everybody thought he was going to take the world by storm. They saw this long drive. He ends up winning the BC Open, so everyone was just like, oh, shit, here's this new, wild golfer who's wearing hockey jerseys literally to the fucking course, and you're like, what is
Bees jerseys?
What is happening out here? And that's the thing, was like his favorite hockey player.
He's
was the
telling everybody it's not all on the hips.
But then he hits a huge slump and he gets into a bunch of trouble because he starts like running his mouth, and
he starts beating up fans.
I was just gonna say, there's instances where you're just like, oh, he was definitely hammered. And give me the 94 incident where he allegedly beats up the fan. That's the thing that they were saying, was it's not the incident where he gets into it with the guy's dad. It's the other one.
Oh, so in 93, he's at the Kapalua International over there in Hawaii. He's DQ'd for picking up the ball after a missed birdie putt, and that was on the 11th hole, and he just put it in his pocket, and they suspended him.
Yep.
And then in 1994, in the NEC's World Series of Golf, he hit several shots towards the people who were in front of him, and on the 14th round, one of the dads of the other professional golfers, Jeff Roth, decided to say, hey, John, put up your dukes.
Well, so he was hitting these balls, and one of the balls hit his son on they weren't on the green, but they were like, he felt like the next group wasn't moving fast enough or some shit like that.
Yeah, nobody was moving in front of him.
And he was like pissed at that, so he just started hitting random balls just at him. And then one of the guy's dads was just like, all right, let's fucking fight. So they get into a tussle.
He was just Randy Marshing it, just like, what do you want to do?
What do you want to do?
What do you want to do? And then he said, you think this is America? And do you think John Daly, when they said, you think this is America, would ever back down?
That's right. Not even from Bat Dad.
He is a Jim Abbott American hero, John Daly.
Not even from Bat Dad.
He's not even missing a fucking hand. He is an American hero.
So he fights this other golfer's dad. There's obvious things here. There was one.
He told him it's all about motion, about karma.
There was this one instance where I saw an interview, and he was talking about the drug testing, and he said,
"Oh, that was great."
He said said 90% of the PGA golfers are on coke, and if they actually drug tested properly, that he would be the soberest one, or something. He said something like that because they were talking about his alcoholism, and they were like, he was just like, no, everybody's all fucked up on whatever, and
that's why I always respected John Daly, because of that quote. You know why? Because I've been playing golf since I was 9 years old. And you know what? It's the most boring ass fucking activity ever.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, if you add booze to it, it's fun.
It's a great time. You loosen up that swing?
Yeah. You've seen me go lefty. You've seen me go fucking down it like John Daly. But I'll tell you what, golf is fucking boring. If you're taking cocaine, you're really good at golf.
Yeah.
Because you got to be fucking OCD concentrated with that shit.
And that's what he was saying, was like obviously he was like going off the rails at this point.
Oh, well,
and it wasn't necessarily an accurate thing, but I imagine he knew a couple of golfers who was on coke, and he was just like, well, you're not busting them.
Yeah.
And then
How dare you make me feel bad for having 2 rounds after a tournament?
And we see him get suspended in 94. And then he ends up going to rehab. And this is the first time he ends up going to rehab.
He goes to rehab a lot.
Yeah. And then he comes back and ends up winning the Bell South Classic. And he made this statement where he was just like, this is the first tourney that I won sober. This is the first time I've ever been sober, and I won it. And I wanted to look because he didn't make the statement later where he's just like, well, that was technically the only one I won sober. So, I mean, there you go. Because he kept making that statement. It was like, this is the first one sober. Everybody happy?
The saddest part about him is, like, if he just put it, if he went whole hog,
he would have been.
Not to say Arkansas, but if he went whole hog into this shit, Tiger. Motherfucker, you would have needed to fuck so many more hookers.
Yes, he would have been at that top because he was at that top, like the echelon that you were thinking, but not with the majors. That's what Tiger broke away from everybody.
It's not the majors, but just the natural God-given golfing ability.
Can I tell you what it is?
Sick.
It's the Waffle House waitresses. It's not.
But they're hot, Chris. The Waffle House waitresses are hot.
God damn it. And then we get into 95, which might be one of his more impressive wins.
Yes, it is.
Where we see him do the actual Open in St. Andrews.
Oh, man. He is going to the place where golf is invented and saying, hey, limey, Nancy Pants, taking away our independence douchebags. I'm taking it. Not only for the American South, but for America.
It's true. So
true.
So he's in Scotland.
He's in Scotland. It's St. Andrews, where they fucking invented the sport, according to Robin Williams.
It's true. And they're fucking cheap.
Yeah, they are.
For various other reasons. But we're talking golf today.
We're talking golf today.
And in the last day, the wind is classic Scottish. What's the way those courses are described, where it's just like fairways?
Awful.
Well, it's just fairways that are just completely open. Like they're just like, we know it's going to be 30-mile-an-hour wind. It was like that.
But when you hit a ball as hard and with so much wiener force, much more than Shaq's penis.
Whoa,
much more than Shaq's penis,
I'm
as
sorry.
John Daly.
I hate to, and I don't think I've ever disagreed with you. He didn't hit it with wiener force. He hit it with American spirit.
Damn it!
And that's why it was flying straight. So
his wiener had the logo of a horribly drawn American Indian on it.
Oh, God damn it. One tear, and he goes, no, it's pre-cum. And I'm like, don't you son of a bitch, Daly. It's probably why we don't drink all the time. So he goes to St. Andrews.
Oh, shit, this is a lot of fun.
Who he was in the last pairing with drops off because the wind was so crazy and he couldn't handle it. He ends up getting into it with an Italian, which we've done before as Americans.
These goddamn Guidos.
And he ends up going to a playoff because the Italian hits this fucking
He hits
amazing
a 60-foot putt. He hits a 60-foot putt, this goddamn Guido. Oh, my God. What's his name?
Cosentino Rocca.
That's it.
I'm going to give him that. I'm going to give him
Cosentino. Why do I feel like if I ever have an illegitimate son, it's going to be Cosentino?
That's good. I like that a lot. But give him the respect because he ends up, putting it to a playoff off of a 60-foot putt. But then Daly destroys him in the playoff. He ends up going -1. Constantino goes fucking +3.
Constantino has that John Vandevelde hold, which is just like, I'm putting your penis in my butthole. Like, he just can't do it.
So Daly wins the Open, 95. Everybody thinks
that was when Happy Gilmore was made, though, essentially. When you think about it.
It is. It really is. That's really when I bet they were in production at that time. I would like to know when Happy Gilmore came out, but I imagine it was 96, 97.
It was 96. Yeah. So it makes total and complete sense. But for John Daly, with all of these accolades and all of these amazing accomplishments and his vast, awesome talent, things don't go right for him for a while.
I was going to say, here's where we see it drop off. He has a lot of personal problems with his second wife. So he got married to his wife, or his high school sweetheart, and they got divorced. And then he has his second wife in this time. They have a bunch of problems. He has a ton of problems back with drinking. 96. 97. He ends up withdrawing from the Open because he had the shakes going on. So he literally had alcohol withdrawal so much because he kept trying to get sober, and then he kept being binge drinking like crazy and
It's
then trying to
just
get
this
sober.
roller coaster
Yeah.
for this poor bastard.
So like from 96 to 2000, he really wasn't necessarily relevant, in which this is the era in which everybody thought he was going to be the fucking man, because he had this early win in his career. Everyone's like, oh, we can see that happen. And then he wins the Open in St. Andrews and everyone's like, oh shit, this is where we see his prime start to kick in. And it was the opposite.
But that's the saddest part is his prime should have been in Tiger's prime.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about like Phil Mickelson's ASU Nancy Pants coming in lefty style, like blowing those guys away.
But
like it was,
he should have been competitive.
Sad.
And he
yeah,
wasn't.
it would
Let me
have
say
been like,
this.
hey, Tiger, grabbed his crotch, gone down the fairway.
Because I don't think there's a single relevant golf movie that wasn't referencing him, because there's something happened in 98 that I think Tin Cup references where he literally hits the ball into the drink, I think like 14 times or something, and he gets an 18 on he
gets a plus 18.
and that's what people were saying was just like, yeah, like go look at a fucking golfing movie. They were referencing John Daly throughout his career, and that's the thing. In 98 and 99 he was like doing nothing of relevance other than like bad shit.
Yeah, and it wasn't like bad shit against the law necessarily. It was just bad shit like, you're a crappy golfer, you'll make good fodder.
And what everybody was saying, he wasn't living up to his potential. That's the thing. So he wasn't like a bad golfer, but they were like, oh, you'd be so much better if you weren't struggling with alcohol. 2001, he kind of makes a comeback where he wins tourney in Germany, the international.
BMW there in Munich. Yep.
2002, he ends up getting in the Arkansas Golfing Hall of Fame, so that's kind of a big one. But he's constantly struggling with alcohol. He's divorced his second wife. I think he's back. He's in with his third wife at this time.
John Daly married 4 times, which is not good.
I was gonna say he's the Liz Taylor.
Without the beautiful diamonds.
Beautiful diamonds. And then 2004. I believe this is the year in which he has his new
Renaissance.
He has his third wife, and they give birth to his first son. I think he has 2 other daughters at this time, and it was kind of like a renaissance where he actually got the comeback player of the year, where he was ranked 299, and then he won the Buick Open.
Yep. Invitational Classic.
The Invitational, and ended up going from 299 to 50th ranked, and people were saying it was just like, oh, he's back. We're going to see this John Daly, you know what I mean? Like this new kind of guy. And it's such a roller coaster. That's the thing.
Oh, I won't say it's terrible, but it's just completely up and down.
Well, we see in 2005, this is what I mean by roller coaster, because everybody thinks that he's focused, he's back into it.
And then in 2005,
Yes.
he's in it. He is
This is
in
what
it
I mean.
to win it. And we've brought it up, actually, oddly enough, on previous episodes
on
where
VJs.
we haven't talked about it.
But he literally is
Loses the Houston Open to VJ Singh.
in a playoff.
Then a 2-foot putt screws him over on a WGC American Express tournament against Tiger Woods.
Yep.
Which is just like, oh, that could have, I don't want to say turned him around, because obviously John Daly is going to do what John Daly wants to do.
But it definitely changes the course of his career in that he ends up losing his exempt status. And if you don't know what that is for the PGA Tour, if you win...
Because he only got it from the Buick Open.
Yes. If you win majors, they give you your PGA card without, no matter how bad you do, you're automatically in next year. So he ended up getting a 10-year exempt status from the 91 Open. He got another one from the whatever he won in 2000. I forget what it was. But then the last one that just ran out was the Buick Open that I think it gave him like 1 or 2 years, and then it ran out. And then he literally could have gotten one with VJ Singh, and then Tiger Woods twice fucking ended up beating him. And that's what they were saying.
Those are the 2 best golfers probably of the last
of that era. Yeah, oh, for
25 years. Those 2 bastards. That's the saddest part.
Yeah.
Is like, and if I'm not trying to excuse make for Daly, because it's like, hey, have your shit together. But by that same token, That sucks.
And then 2007 is the first time he loses his exempt status since 91. And he ends up saying, like, I'm going to go by the invitational thing where some tourneys will, like, invite famous golfers. Which he starts doing that. But then in 2008, he does what we've all done. This is the thing. This is the one.
We've all done.
He gets arrested outside of a Hooters, and then...
I mean, when you get arrested outside of Hooters, how are you not an American?
How are you
I mean...
Are you not an American hero?
How is that not a passport? When you go to another country, be like, what is your country of origin? Arrested outside of a Hooters.
Here's my
American.
Here's my arrest record from outside of a Hooters. Oh, is that Kelly with an I? Yeah, it is.
Well, of course. How is it not an I or a Y with a heart above it?
So he's suspended. He's suspended for 6 months, and it's this roller coaster where people were saying, like, I really wish, because some people can drink, and some people it affects their lives.
Sláinte.
And it affected his life so hard where he couldn't have a professional life. Or he could, but like you see missed potential.
It's a functional alcoholism, but it's a functional yet dysfunctional alcoholism. That's what I'm going to go with John Daly for.
Back in 2009, a bunch of shit starts falling apart. His swing coach, longtime swing coach.
Oh God, yeah.
They depart ways because he says the most important thing in John's life is getting drunk, not winning championships. So they depart ways. He has one of the worst rounds of his life because he ends up getting lat van surgery. So because he's always been like 100 pounds too heavy, he ends up getting lat van surgery. And there were comments about how he lost a bunch of power. And what he said was his eyesight was diminishing and he didn't get the right prescription, so he really missed a ton of putts because
shit.
So there was just like a ton of excuses at this point of his career, and he really kind of went into obscurity where his game just like never really recovered from this until, when he ends up retiring. But what I really want to bring up is all of the other stuff. So we kind of breezed over his career.
Yep.
I want to get into his gambling and his ex-wife stabbing him in the face, which we're going to get into that.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's just
give me the stabbing in the face because I think that's
no. I want to hear you talk about stabbing in the face.
Well, is it 2007? Because I think it was 2007.
Yeah.
His wife. I forget how it was reported, but it was reported.
The one who went to jail for federal drug prosecution.
Yes, but it was reported that she came at him with a knife or whatever, and then because I think it was like on a Thursday night that they were arguing at a restaurant. She took a steak knife
at a Hooters, by the way.
At a fucking
because John Daly is a goddamn legend. I would kill for a woman to stab me in Hooters, and granted, I'm the type of guy who would get stabbed in the face, but at a Hooters. John Daly, you're a legend.
Let me be honest. I get stabbed at a Waffle House, but he was getting stabbed. So it was at a restaurant or some shit, and she like went at his face with a fucking steak knife.
Steak knife.
And then he shows up the next day, and you can see it
cuts and shit,
cuts
on his
all over his
face. Oh God, this is
crazy.
Nick Harper in our Steelers Colts episode to the max. Sorry for moving the table.
So he has, and this is the thing where you see just he has so many problems with alcohol, women. I mean, literally the problems that this podcast has.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean.
So, and this is the thing where it was, you could see shit needed to kind of change, and then he came out and said, like, alcohol has been a huge problem with me, but my biggest problem has been gambling. And you're like, wait, what? Like,
the gambling shit. Oh, my God.
Just saying that, and you were like, I think about the Office thing where Meredith was fucking super addicted to alcohol. She was like, I do have an addiction, but it's the porn. And you're like, what? Like, I thought it was alcohol the whole time.
Out of left field?
Because we had brought this up because I'm gonna bring up all these statistics that I absolutely love, where he actually had a real figure of how much money he lost because he kept a record of everything. So he kept a record of all of his gambling losses and all of his gambling winnings. So
that is the most autistic thing ever, and not in a negative way.
No,
that is
it's
just amazing.
I was gonna say that's something that I would do because because I would want to know. And what his response was, he was just like, I legitimately thought I lost 20 to 25 million, which in my mind was fucking crazy. And then he goes, so I went over all of my taxes and I ended up winning 90 million, I'm sorry, I ended up winning 35 million. I ended up losing 90 million, which meant that he lost $55 million. And this is what people were saying. They were like, I could tally up what you made even with sponsorship and all of your other stuff. That's not 55 million. He was just like, well, I played a ton of golf and gambled that wasn't necessarily counted in that. And you were just kind of like, he wasn't declaring it because
Michael Jordan had to be like,
because the
what
golf,
the fuck, motherfucker?
Well, the golf bets were fucking crazy. He just goes, that was everything that was in a casino. And I was like, so
God.
there's he literally won 750,000. I think it was what was the shit? It might have been from the Buick Open. He won like 750 fucking $1,000.
Oh, and he went to the casino afterwards in Vegas,
and he went to the Win, and he played this slot machine that was
$5,000 a pull,
and he ended up losing twice of what he. I think they said it was 1.6 million that he lost.
Why would you do that, you dumb bastard?
This is what they were saying, and then this is one of my favorite quotes from him, which you see why he got into gambling was his idols or whatever, the older golfers. It was fucking Greg Norman. It was fucking...
Dude, it's all competitive. We've talked about this on this podcast.
It was Norman.
Competitive problem.
It was Norman, and I want to say it was Hogan, and they were at the place that became the Win, and he just goes, I was hanging out with him. I was young as fuck. It was right after I won the Open, so I think it was 92, 93, whatever the fuck. And he was just like, so I saw Norman lose $8 million in about like 3 hours. And he was just like, hey, is it, and he goes, hey, is it cool? Like, I'm staying here. I just want to like cut a check or whatever. And they were like, no, you need to foot the cash for this. And he just goes, are you sure? Because I'm going to be like back tomorrow. And they're like, yeah, no, we need you to foot the cash. He goes, he gets the cash, comes back. He comes back the next night, and because they call him JD. That's what he was just like, they would call me JD, and I'd be like, I feel included. That's what John Daly was saying.
No.
He was just like, I feel included. And he just goes, so
no, they're suckering you in, you goddamn idiot.
He goes, I come back the next night, and Norman makes $52 million. And he goes, I'm not joking about this. This is a true story. He goes on this crazy ass run, makes all this money, and they're like, oh, Mr. Norman, you did so great. Can we cut you a check? And he just goes, no, you need to give me cash right now.
Fucking
and they were
that's
like,
the shark. We need to do a fucking episode on the shark. That is badass.
I loved it so much.
Damn the shark.
Because it was obviously the same people, probably the same pit boss.
And
he just goes, no, boss. Even though he would probably prefer a check. He doesn't want $52 million in cash. And then they were just like, this is literally what they said. They had to call Mr. Win in, and that's when Mr. Win came in, and this is what the first like iteration of that becoming the Win, because he was just like, oh, I need to bring all my money in, and like it was such a weird Vegas golf story. We were just like, you fucking gambling
these
addicts.
Golfers are fucking shysters in the best way. I love you golfers.
He can say that because his girlfriend's Jewish.
What? No. I mean, she is, but like,
no.
They know exactly what's going on. Golfers more than any professional athletes. They know how to gamble.
But he said he lost. But what I was saying, the point of this whole story, which I love how spiderweb we get when we're drunk.
God damn it.
Is people were like, alcohol obviously was your huge addiction. That was your huge problem. And he said, no.
Gambling.
it was gambling. And,
You know what's-
and then you look back on it and you're like, oh, yeah, that might make sense.
Chris,
Like,
how long have you known me? What is the only addiction I don't have?
7 years, yeah, gambling.
Gambling. It's never gambling. My mom, even, Nikki, honey, gambling is the only addiction you don't have. And I'm like, well, of course, because my mind goes in 80,000 different fucking places. Like, I will never gamble. I mean, I'll sit at a fucking blackjack table and say, here's $200. Let's see where it goes.
I was going to say that's different than showing up and fucking, because the story that got me was the $5,000 slot machine, because if it wasn't like an extreme, you would just do like some bullshit slots and be like, oh, we're just doing like a
Oh, I know. You're just
$100 or whatever.
Fuck around.
Yeah, like obviously small for him, but would be big for everybody else. But he had to do big for himself. Not even big for himself, but outrageous.
Big for everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah, like I remember, like last time I went to fucking Vegas with Roy, Tony, and Andrew. The only reason I went to a blackjack table was like Andrew was like, "Hey, I'm going to a blackjack table." I'm like, "I want to drink. I'm gonna hang out with you." That's the only reason. Like, fuck gambling. That is horrible. John Daly, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we went back to the hotel room with those hookers, but I don't remember paying. You know what I'm talking about. She bit my nose off. That was the making all the references.
Saigon whore!
Hey, how's the trunk space in those? We're just going to reference it up. I'm on live TV. I'm live here. Is that a dead prostitute?
We'll do it live. I'm Bill O'Reilly. There's a dead whore.
And then, so we're going to get right to the end because that's where it's going.
This is where 2 hundo's going.
2020, he ends up getting bladder cancer diagnosis, which is shitty.
Why do you think I'm scaling it back, Chris? No.
Scaling it up. But, this was the reference I wanted to make because they said it had a lot to do with the cigarettes and Diet Coke.
Aspartame, dude. Aspartame will fuck you over, dude.
And
that's why I don't drink Diet Coke.
He had a statement that I thought was bullshit, and then we do all this research and we see all this stuff that they do, and I was like, oh, he probably had this accurate depiction of how much Diet Coke he drank because he literally had everything on his taxes because this thing.
And it's the cigarettes too.
And the cigarettes too. And he literally came out and he was just like, I was smoking 2.5 packs a day. That was for sure.
Which is awful.
And I drank 400 gallons of Diet Coke in 1 year. And people are probably like, how would you? He has it on his tax reforms as I bought this much Diet Coke and I probably drank this much.
It's easy when he said every time he went to McDonald's. It makes sense as far as mathematically.
One more fucking mathematic statistic was because he ended up he stopped gambling. He gambled, he said, for 17 years. And if you took what he lost in 17 years is he lost $3.2 million every single year.
Jesus, tap dancing Christ.
I'm just saying.
Wow,
I'm just saying. And that
makes me sick.
I know. It's fucking crazy.
God.
Yes. He is
I
still.
love you, John Daly, but
me too.
Why?
Why? He's still doing really well because he does have businesses that are doing well. Wine company, a golf apparel company, but the gambling, he could have. I like to lose $50 million over 15 years.
He could have been the cool Donald Trump. Why, John Daly? Why?
Whoa.
I'm just saying.
He could have been the blonde John.
He could have been the Dread Pirate.
I was just going to say, I don't even know what he could have been. This is what everybody was technically saying about him is like he had potential. He gambled away $50 million in the peak of investment era. There's just so many things. Like we all could be having mullets right now, but he kind of
What do you think I'm growing right now, Sports Experience Fans Podcast?
He fucked us over.
I'm doing it as a douchebag. We could have
10
done it as popular.
It's 10 years too late.
God damn it.
John Daly. This is episode 200.
200!
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Ty, for just fucking being there for us. So
I love you, Ty.
Woo!